Hey everybody, welcome to Average Joe Preparedness. My name is Rick, and I'm an average Joe. Now I believe this video is going to be a little long, try to stick with it. Today we're going to cover positive attitude, and then at the end we're going to go over some prepper things to be prepared for. Two, big ones. One is pretty much every prepper will agree on is going to be, we're going to touch base on water. And the other one, if you've been paying attention and if you learned your lessons from earlier this year, we're going to talk about toilet paper. Now I got up today, I checked out the news, I checked out feeds, and it turns out that the world is still basically going to heck. It's just terrible out there. And it is inundating pretty much all facets of your society. Of our society. It's pretty hard to get away from. All parts of our lives are being touched by it in one way or another. So yeah, you need to be ready. And then you may ask, well, if the world's going to heck, why are we talking about positive attitude? Well, attitude determines your altitude, for lack of a better term. You need to be positive, and we're going to go over why, not just like, oh, hey, you need to be positive. There are actual reasons for it, and that's what we're going to talk about. Talking about being positive to get through things that happen to you in life. Now, I'm going to remind you that this isn't just a prepper channel. This is a preparedness channel. That's my point, is to help you get through life no matter what it is. If it's a contingency, big or small, something little like the internet going out or maybe a flat tire, all the way up to something larger such as, I don't know, a pandemic and or a weather contingency, floods, storms, tornadoes. So I'm trying to get the whole thing. And if you've watched the videos, these stack on top of each other. They're all pieces to the puzzle. They're keys. And they build off each other. So if you haven't seen other videos, you might want to look at them, or you might want to try to play catch up. That's up to you. But that's the process. That's the whole thing we're looking at, is to help you be prepared for whatever life brings you, from something small all the way up to something big. Now, as I've mentioned, I've been through some pretty tribulations, some bad things. Bad things have happened to me in my life, just like everybody. Everybody's been through things. But a story is 9/11, in case I'm sure lots of people remember it. I don't know how young you are if you don't remember that. So 9/11. So 9/11 happened. And as I mentioned, I was in the military. Doesn't matter where I was, what we were doing. The point being is, right as it was happening, one of my young troops was concerned. And it was becoming it was infecting those around him. He was like, what do we do? What do we do? Oh my gosh, this is going on. This is going on. And I came up to him. He was a big guy, big young man, tall. And I grabbed him by the chest, and you see how high I'm reaching. And I'm 6'1", guys, in case you can't tell by the angle of this phone. So he was a big guy. And I grabbed him by the chest, his uniform, and I was shaking him in front of everybody. I had to make a point. And I was shaking him until I got his attention. And I stared up at him and I said, listen to me. Right now, there's over 250 million people in the United States who are acting just like you. They don't know what to do. There's 7+ billion people in the world who are probably thinking maybe along those lines too, but let's narrow it back down. Over 250 million people in the United States acting just like you. They don't know what to do. But you're lucky. You do know what to do. Your job. Calmed him down, calmed everybody else around him down. Everybody. The point being is, it's your attitude, it's your outlook, it's how you're thinking, it's how you're feeling. That is going to affect how you react. Now, I've mentioned it before in some of the other videos that negative emotion blocks higher brain function. You can Google it, and there's lots of, thoughts and processes out there as to it. I'm just going to give you my look. It's simple, but it's mine. And so you have to find your own. But everybody's heard of Like, oh, that person's very positive. You can almost feel like, oh, they have a positive energy. Or, oh, this person has a negative energy. Or this person's just negative. I don't like being around them. The point being is the average person can understand how someone can be negative or someone can be positive. And there's usually a draw, an attraction, or a push away from those types of people. So recognize that you can feel it. Normal people can feel and either want to be around that person or not around that person, depending on their positive and or negative attitude. The point is, you can feel it. So let's just say we've established that it is almost a thing, a tangible thing. Okay. Now everybody has a model in their mind of how things work. And I'll give you a really quick example of mine. When I was really young, gravity. Okay, gravity. I needed a model in my head of how gravity worked. Remember, I was young. And in my head, it was like there's like a string and it holds the moon and the earth is pulling it with a string, or the sun is pulling the earth with a string. Right or wrong, good or bad, doesn't matter. That's what it was. Well, eventually, as I got older and I learned more things, that model didn't work. So I had to change that model. And as silly as it sounds, I found it, I don't know if you guys ever seen one of those little gravity well coin things where you stick a coin in, have them at like museums and the such, and little coins go around and it says, hey, which coin goes faster? And they want you to put the money in, and it usually goes to a good cause. But the point being is, it goes around and around and around and around. And in my mind, I realized my model changed to where around things that have mass that generate gravity, it bends space so that the moon thinks it's going in a straight line. Except space has been bent. And so although it's turning, it doesn't believe it's turning. It believes it's going straight. Right or wrong, good or bad, it doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't get a physics person or an astrophysics person to critique me. The point is that's the model that I had to use in my mind to understand it. Does that make sense? Now I'm going to try to do this again quickly in small steps. I don't know if I can, but a model for you to use potentially as to how a positive attitude versus a negative attitude, okay, and how it can affect you. Let's follow for a second. Besides the fact that we've already established it's a potentially tangible thing to those around you. But let's just say you understand that this thing that we live in, this body, is a, what do they call it? A bio, electrical, chemical, mechanical. It's a machine, basically. Just look at it, a bio machine. Don't get me wrong, it's a lie, but it's a bio machine. And it is designed to run a certain way. That's just the way of it. It's nature, or however you want to put it, that's up to you, but let's just go with that. Now, it's a chemical, electrical, bio machine, okay? We'll get to this in a sec. Now, as stated, all machines are designed to run a specific way. If you run it a different way, you're going to run into problems. I hope this is common sense to everybody. So, one of the things that your body uses is nerves, and it sends signals, and it's really cool, and I'm going to use a really small, please don't send me critiques on this, but it's a really small, simple model example about your nerves, okay? There's a little electrical impulse that goes across, and at the end, that electrical impulse generates a chemical, then the chemical goes over here to another chemical catcher, and then this one reads the chemical and says, we need to make this electrical signal. Electrical signal goes over here, gets to the end, produces there's a little chemical machine, it produces a chemical, the chemical goes across, this one catches it, touches, tastes, whatever it does to that chemical, and says, well, then we need to generate this electrical signal, okay? And so on and so on and so on. Yes, I know that's extremely simple. Please, just roll with me. All right, so recap. Electrical, chemical, electrical, chemical, electrical, chemical. The chemical part we'll get to in a second, but what we want to focus on is the electrical. Now, understand this, you have lots of nerves in the human body. If you want to write down in the comment section how many there are, you want to Google and look it up, that's fine. But please, it's not the point. There's tons of them. Tons of them. And they're all running all the time. And they're running next to each other. You see what I'm saying? Like next to each other, like really close. That's going to it's going to affect something here in a second. So you've got all these little electrical chemicals, we'll stick with the electrical, little electrical signals passing by each other, going through your whole, and especially in the brain. Okay, do you understand that? All these electrical things going past each other. It's awesome. It's a wonderful thing. If you ever because I actually thought about the human body, and I'm like, man, it is awesome. The design, nature, Mother Nature, however you want to look at it, how this came to be, it's awesome. All right, now we're going to change directions real quick. If you understand electricity, and again, please don't critique me, I'm trying to get this to the simplest little thing. Electricity, a current carrying wire, generates a magnetic field. Okay, you can Google and look it up. And that's how they make transformers. Step up, step down transformers. They take it, they curl it up, it generates a magnetic field. There's another wire next to it, or another coiled wire, and it will induce voltage into that. So a wire not touching another wire will make another wire generate electricity because of the magnetic field. The magnetic field makes all the little electrons go, and basically the point being is this has power going through it, this doesn't. If they're running next to each other, this one can cause this one to have power. Do you understand that? This is physics, this is actual stuff. Just understand it. Now the power that's introduced into the other wires is dependent on lots of things. It's amperage and voltage and kilowatts and all this nifty stuff, right? What it is, the voltage or the amperage will determine the differences. So what I'm getting at is one variance will create another variance. That's the point. Okay, just roll with me for a second. You've got all these wires and it's designed to run a specific way. i.e., let's say you're positive, neutral at best, but you're positive. Okay, that positive is actually going to be generated along those little electrical, remember the little electrical, chemical things we talked about? Okay, certain frequencies, certain hertz, I don't know, and I don't care. The point being is, for the chemical to read that you're happy, a certain voltage of some sort needs to go, and then the chemical says, we're happy, and it goes over here to this receptacle, and this receptacle says, we're happy, so I'm going to shoot this voltage out. That's really, really simple, but basically it's how it works. Okay, so let's say we got that little happy voltage going. Happy, chemical says we're happy, or any sort of positive thought, positive outlook, happy, happy. That's how we're designed to run. So the little wires running next to that one, the induced voltage of the other wires that are like, this wire up here is how you breathe, your heartbeat, your pancreas, whatever, it doesn't matter. The rest of this machine is running next to it. And that little induced voltage doesn't do anything. That's how it's supposed to be. Maybe it even helps. So the more positive you are, the better all the induced voltage is that goes to all those other little lines in your brain and in your body. Just go with that for a second. And I'm sure you know with people that have very positive attitudes, very positive outlooks, keep a positive mindset, how good things happen to them, potentially. Does that make sense? Now let's just say for argument's sake that we are designed that way, but now you are frustrated, you're enter any negative emotion, mad, jealous, envious, all the negative emotions, guys. I'm not saying right or wrong, good or bad, but let's just say that. Let's just say you introduce a negative emotion. Okay, well, remember the little wire chemical thing? So the wire sends some sort of electrical signal to the chemical thing. And it says, we're mad. The little chemical thing says, oh, crud, we're mad. And it jumps over here and says, hey, we're mad. So the electrical signal is now, we're mad, and so on and so on. Well, that electrical signal is going to generate a magnetic field, and maybe it's a different hertz or frequency, or it doesn't matter. Amperage, who cares? The point being is, remember, this is really simple, guys. The point being is, it's generating a magnetic field. And all those other wires that control everything in this machine are running next to it. And it's possible, just follow me, can you see it? How that's inducing a different type of voltage or amperage or whatever frequency on those other wires. And that's not how they're designed to run. Not with that interference. Does that make sense? Now it could be as simple as when you're angry, again, it blocks higher brain function. That little voltage or amperage or whatever that's being introduced is stopping you from using cognitive thought. When people are very angry, and hopefully you can use this from your personal experience, they're not thinking. They're reacting. You with me? It's possible we can't think. It's not possible. It's being blocked. You have to stop it. And it could go as far as Maybe it affects you in other ways. I don't know if you've seen people that are angry all the time. Have you really looked at them? Have you looked at their body, the way it affects them? Is it possible that it's messing up things? And people that are upset all the time, they have hypertension and they have heart disease and they have and blah and blah. Is it possible they're connected? Some people might be going, pshaw. That's not possible. Really? It's not possible at all? Okay, well, that's the silly model that I have to use inside my head so that I can understand it. You can use any model you want, or you can disagree and just say, negative emotions don't do anything, Rick. I am perfectly fine with negative emotions. Okay, cool beans. That works. I mean, people might not want to be around you. Remember point one, that people can actually feel it and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to argue with you. It's your life. But let's just go with it. Let's just go down the road of negative emotions block higher brain function. And you say, okay, well, let's just go with that for a second, Rick. Why do I care? Again, these videos build off each other. If you haven't seen it, if I haven't mentioned before, I will again. Negative emotions block higher brain function. If you don't have higher brain function, if you can't reason, if you can't put 2 + 2 together, if you can't think a little bit outside the box or see things that aren't there, i.e., imagine this happening and coming up with a solution, you are setting yourself up for failure. In a contingency, if you are not thinking, you are failing. If you are not thinking, you are setting yourself up for failure. You are taking away one of those tools you can use to survive. I have been in very bad situations. Once again, people that could think survive. People that got emotional and could not think did not survive. Hey, in the movies, like especially the war movies, where the one guy snaps and he's like, come on, come on. He stands up and he's yelling. He's gonna die. That guy's gonna die in the movies. It always happens. You know what I'm talking about. Not thinking. Just saying. One way or another, all contingencies are thought. You think your way out of them. Even if you're taking actions, you have to think about that action. You're with me? So you have to think. You have to think no matter what it is. And not just during it, okay, because some people say, well, that might be a little too late. And you would much rather, you need to be thinking when that happens. However, because some things happen really fast. However, what's better than that is thinking beforehand. And that's where, again, this whole thing is to set you up for success. But how about if we start thinking about things beforehand? You with me? And you can't think of things beforehand. You cannot use cognitive thought. You cannot use deductive reasoning if you are having a negative emotions. You have to think positive. You have to practice it. Each day, no matter what happens to you, practice looking at the bright side. Look at the bright side of it. If something bad happens to you, okay, it's to teach you a lesson. A small bad thing in learning a lesson is better than a big bad thing and you standing there and taking it on the chin. Final thought on this. I get it. You're like, hey, you know what? I don't see what the big deal is. Positive, negative, okay. Because, let's take this glass right here. That whole thing about, depends on your outlook, glass half full, glass half empty. Okay, guess what? Whether I think this glass is half full or whether I think this glass is half empty does not change the amount of fluid in that glass. It's still the same. What changes is how I'm looking at things. Again, positive versus negative. If you're thinking negative, that's it. You ended there. That glass is half empty and it's dumb and it's and as we talked about before, I'm like, okay, you're being problem focused. Why don't you focus on a solution, whatever that may be? Okay, great. So there's not enough water. Okay, now what? What are we doing? What did we do before? What didn't work? What are we going to do next? No, glass empty. Bad. Okay, you're not getting anywhere. All right, you're not solving nothing. You're not giving yourself the tools that you need to get through whatever this happens to be. And prior to this, you aren't giving yourself an opportunity to set yourself up to be able to overcome or mitigate what's going to happen to you. Guys, if you want to be negative, all right? My advice, might want to be positive. All right, don't want to beat a dead horse. Beat this dead horse. I'm going over this because, again, they all build off each other. And in my videos that I've already made, I don't know if you saw the one with the water filter and things went wrong, but I kept smiling. Or my videos in the future, in which case things are going to go wrong. Me filming the videos, I'm trying to keep them raw and not edit down all the mistakes, so you can see that life happens to me just like it happens to everybody else, but you need to get through it. The point being is I need to build off positive attitude, because I'm going to probably display a positive attitude in things. You're going to be like, why are you acting so positive? That went wrong. Well, I'll tell you why. Because positive attracts positive. It's unlike a magnet. You with me? It's the opposite. Negative attracts negative. I don't want negative around me. And I don't know if you've felt it where you don't want negative people around you. You want positive people, kind of, unless you're one of those people that actually likes to hate life or whatever. And I'm sorry for you. Can't help you. The point being is build off in videos. I will try to always be positive. I will try to always have a positive outlook. And now you know why. Okay, quick recap, and then, as promised, a transition into water. Quick recap, positive attitude. If you don't have it, you are not setting yourself up for success. And I'm not talking about just I'm talking about being prepared for everything life has to hand you. Not necessarily just like I'm a prepper and, these big things. And no, I'm talking about everything. And everything builds off of something else, which builds off of something else, which builds off of something else. So, recap, positive attitude. I recommend you get one. I've seen what happens when people don't have it. I've seen what happens when people do have it. And the do far outweighs the success of those that don't. All right? But now, let's go ahead and move on to a prepper thing. And prepper thing number one, we said we were going to talk about two. The first one is water. Okay, in the prepper community and other communities too, there's a thing called the rules of threes when it comes to survival. And there's two things with preppers. One of them has to do with backups, but the other one has to do with the rules of three and time. So you cannot survive 3 seconds without security. You cannot survive 3 minutes without air. You cannot survive 3 hours, depending on the environment, without some sort of shelter, depending on how extreme the environment is. You cannot survive 3 days without water, and you cannot survive 3 weeks without food. Now, again, these are approximates, guys. Please don't narrow it down and give me negative comments about it. These are just, but the one we're talking about is water. 3 days. You cannot survive 3 days without water. Now, I don't know if you've been in a situation, contingency, whatever word you want to call it, a natural disaster, where you don't have access to water, or don't have access to readily have access to water. I've been in those situations a few times, and they are unpleasant. And you don't know how valuable water is until you can't get it, or if you have to work really, really hard to get it. Does that make sense? The average person, you go to your fridge or you got your sink, and most people don't drink water. I mean, people do, and you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but we drink things like soda or tea or coffee, which all contain water, but technically they don't count. But understand, they contain water. Coffee, you can't make coffee without water. Tea, you can't make tea. Kool-Aid, nothing. None of these things can be made without water. But it's one of those things that we basically take for granted. Unless, like me, you have been in a situation where you did not have access to it, or getting access to it was extremely difficult. So if you go on a government website, let's say FEMA, I'm pretty sure Red Cross, all of them, they say you need a gallon of water a day per person in contingency. It's a gallon of water a day per person. Okay, I got you. And you may think to yourself, well, I don't drink a gallon of water a day. So there's discussions about it, whether it has to do with also hygiene, like brushing your teeth or washing your hands, or at least, cleaning yourself off, or in cleaning your clothes, or so there's a discussion about what the gallon is, but everyone agrees, okay, gallon, it's a good place. We have to start there. That's a gallon of water per person per day. You with me? Now, storing that kind of water for contingency, I don't know if you can see how the math adds up real fast. Let me give you an example. Okay, I got this off camera real quick. And it doesn't matter who makes it. I don't know if I showed the label or not, but the point being is this is a gallon of water. You see the size of that? Gallon of water. This would last me by myself 1 day. And in case you don't know, a gallon of water weighs somewhere between 7 and 8 pounds. That's heavy, for a gallon. 1 day. That's it, people. I can survive 1 day with this. That's all. Now, can you see how the math would add up? And this is going to get rough really fast. Let me give you a really quick off camera again. It's up here. It's been up here. This is a water container. And again, I don't get anything off of these guys. I'm not trying to, say this one's a great container. Nothing. It's just one I happen to have. This holds 7 gallons. All right, it's empty right now. You see the size of that? How big that is? That's one person, 1 week. And do the math. 7 times between 7 and 8 pounds. You can't carry this around, guys. This is not good for carrying it. So it's not easily transportable. That's a point. What I'm getting at is water and logistics. It's something you need to think about. And again, that's what we're talking about in all these videos, is thinking. So water's a requirement. You need to build it up. I mean, you can go out right now, I guess, and just buy cases and cases of water. Okay, cool. Logistically, where are you going to store it? How long are you going to store it for? Some people say water goes bad. Some people say you can just shake it up, put oxygen back in it. Some people say you can filter it, and it doesn't matter. We'll get to that later on. The point being is you need water. Most people don't go without water. Most contingencies don't call for that to happen unless there's a hurricane, there's floods, and the water gets poisonous, or Flint, Michigan. I don't want to bring up anything political, but what I'm getting at is we don't think about it. Something you need to think about. Again, Red Cross, FEMA, pretty much every prepper out there will tell you you need to get water. So start building slowly. No, slowly is a relative term. Start building now would be fantastic. But build in steps that you can survive on. Again, don't take a credit card and get yourself into debt by going out and charging up like a case of these things so I can last 30 days. It's not smart thinking. You should be building up on your water supply, but you can do it smart and you can do it slow. Each person has their own speed, right? Now, let's say you don't want to spend a lot of money doing it. Okay, do you buy soda? I buy soda. I drink soda, something I do. I just have a empty soda bottle right here. It doesn't matter who it is. I'm not getting nothing out. I'm not trying to plug Diet Shasta. And there's actually 2.5 liters, not a 2-liter bottle, but doesn't matter. You have an empty bottle, okay? Right now, you can go to your sink and you can rinse that thing out, and little soap and stuff, and then you can fill it up with water. You could cap it and put it off to the side. It'll last a little bit. Some people would recommend you put a few drops of, and you can go out on the internet, there's a discussion on how many drops of bleach, regular bleach, which you guys should have, not scented, and put it in there, and it might taste a little bit like bleach or swimming pool water, however you want to put it, but it'll keep it from growing stuff on the inside. Then you store it, and we'll get into water storage later. Not the point. The point I'm trying to get across is you can do it. So if you drink soda or something, any kind of bottles, you have them. You don't have to go out and purchase water. You can get it right out of your sink and store it. Again, you're going to have to look at the logistics. Where are you going to put it? And this stuff takes cognitive thought. And that's why you need to be positive. You need to be thinking. Now, if you've got a little extra money and you do want to go and purchase, you can, and again, I don't get anything out of this, but the little bottles of water, they're very convenient. And these come in cases. And they were missing for a while during the latest contingency with the stores and stuff. And this is inexpensive. Again, I don't get anything from this, but one thing you need to think about is these bottles are cheap. I don't know if you can see that. If you touch these, they're really thin and they get holes poked in them easy. But if you store them correctly, store them in a cool, dark area and you're not poking them and stuff, these should do fine. And you can build it up. The problem is understand how the cases of this can get large. So logistically, you're going to have to think about that and you're going to have to work it out. But for people who may need to travel in a contingency, something to think about is a different type of bottle of water. Now this one, I'm not plugging them. However, I'm going to plug the product. If you go out there, there's 2. This water bottle, I don't know if you can hear that. This thing is solid. And they say you can drop these and bang on them and reuse these bottles. And these are tough bottles. Now you may be able to find that in a soda bottle or something, but the point being is if you need to travel, again, you need to be thinking, is this little thin plastic versus this? Just something for you to think about. Yes? Okay, so we talked about water. It is important, why it's important, and we touched a little bit about the logistics of getting it. Again, you may not be motivated if you haven't been in a contingency, my recommendation is that you learn from the mistakes of others and you work in that direction. And again, there's not a lot of arguments out there on the internet and from people on this side or that side that water is important. So please think about it. We're going to do a video. We'll do videos on water, different ways, water filters and the such. So don't get me wrong. This isn't the last time you've heard about water, but now start thinking about it, please. And hopefully we'll be setting you up for success. Now the next thing, which may be a little closer and near and dear to people's hearts, toilet paper. Now during this last contingency, we'll call it that, a lot of stores, and some of them are just coming back from it, ran out of toilet paper. Okay, the reasons for it, good, bad, right, or wrong, if we want to talk about psychology and it doesn't matter why we ran out of toilet paper. People were hoarding it and this. Okay, there's lots of reasons why people want toilet paper. It doesn't matter. The point being is this is a lesson learned. So if you have not gotten yourself, and not hoarding, like going out and doing it when it happens, it's a buildup. Okay, I remember seeing in the news, they were like, well, preppers are hoarding it. Like, hold on a second. I've owned this for like months. Some of it almost a year. That's not hoarding, okay? And it's a constant rotation. I didn't go out and steal all this toilet paper, okay? I didn't go buy it all up and try to sell it on eBay. So please get that out of your mind. That's not hoarding. It's being prepared. It's having a preparedness mindset. Now, for those of you who are like, well, I don't want to get a bunch of toilet paper. I don't have room for it. And those big plastic containers, they're like this big and stuff and bulky. Let me give you some ideas of how you can build yourself up to it and set yourself up for success. These are just ways of thinking, different ways of thinking, because a lot of people, they think one way, and you try to get out of that to where you can step out of yourself a little bit and try to think and look at things from different angles, and you may be able to come up with solutions that weren't there before, you didn't think of before. So let's start with this. Let's try it off camera. This is a decorative idea. Now, don't judge the decorativeness off this one. There's tons of them you can get. And this is a little, see, that's a little TP holder right there. Goes in the bathroom, you get it to match your, your fixtures and stuff. There's all kinds of different ones, guys, not just this. You see that? Isn't that cool? And it looks nice, even though it's toilet paper, and you can get them even more decorative. They set on the sides of the toilets or in the back somewhere. The point being is, this doesn't look like you're a prepper, it doesn't look like you're hoarding, but yet you have three rolls of toilet paper plus the one on the roller. So you have 4 rolls of toilet paper. I don't know about you, but we don't use that much. But what I'm getting at is, this is like 4, 5, 7 days of toilet paper. It doesn't take up a lot of storage room. It's on the side of your toilet. You with me on this? Now in one of our bathrooms, we actually have 2 of these, and I'll explain. One's on either side. It's like a matching set, like salt and pepper shakers or something, on each side of the toilet. So that's another 3 rolls. So now we've got a total of what, 7? 7 rolls of toilet paper sitting there. It's not taking up that much space except what's in the bathroom anyways, and that's kind of unused space on either side of the toilet except for little trash cans and stuff. And again, you can get it to look really nice. You can get different kinds. They're not that expensive, but yet you are now storing toilet paper for the future. In which case, like last year, this may have sounded funny. This year, maybe not so funny with what's been going on, but this is an option. I'm not saying do this. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, good, bad. I'm not saying it's for you or for that. No, not the point. The point is, did you think about something like this? Or something else? That's the point. The point is thinking of solutions, thinking about different solutions that work for you. Now, the next one I'm going to show you, I didn't even know existed. It was actually a gift from one of my sons, my middle boy. So, and I thought it was a joke at first. I thought it was hilarious because of something that happened in our lives. It doesn't matter, but it actually turned out to come in handy. Okay, you guys ready? You see that? Have you ever seen one of these before? I hadn't. And by the way, this roll of toilet paper originally was this big. It was huge. It looked like something they used in a newspaper print. Back in the day, newspapers, big, huge things of paper. Doesn't matter. So it's a lot bigger. But this is what it looks like being used in a bathroom for, holy Moses, we're talking about 8 months. 8 months, and there's still this much. And it came with a pack of 3. You with me? Now they say in a high use, I looked it up. I was Googling it. I was like, this is incredible. And I think in a high use area, these are supposed to last like a month, 1 to 3 months. Ours last longer. It's in a spare bedroom. Spare bathroom, and it looks fantastic with the decorations. Doesn't matter. The point being is thinking outside the box. So if you can get one of these and you put the roll, and it comes with 3 in a box store. I don't want to advertise for them, but I've seen it in a box store. And literally they come in a box, rolls. What I'm getting at is you're not hoarding, you're not looking like you're storing all this stuff, and you don't have room for it. This looks really nice in our bathroom. And when we remodeled, now those little toilet paper spinny rolly things, we didn't have to mount one of those somewhere. So that's not sticking out of the wall, or it's not sticking out of the side of the vanity. There's not screw holes that need to be replaced or anything. This just sits on the floor. And so it's decorative. And one of these rolls in a high use area is supposed to last 30 days. That's a month. And it comes in a box of 3. So high use, that's 3 months. But yet it looks good. It's not taking up, you don't have stacks of toilet paper in a closet somewhere. I'm not saying this is for you. I'm not saying you even have to like it. Not the point. The point, ladies and gentlemen, is thinking outside the box, coming up with innovative solutions for you, for things that either could happen, may happen, or have happened. Okay, let's recap. I'm gonna get this out of the way. Toilet paper behind me, what the heck? So, we discussed positive attitude, and I hope you got something out of it. I hope, if nothing else, you're thinking about it a little bit more and how it can affect you, having a positive attitude. And I'm not talking about, oh, everything's awesome and everything's wonderful and I'm just gonna look at life as positive. No, that's not what I'm talking about, all right? What I'm talking about is trying to stay positive no matter what happens to you, okay? Because things happen and they suck. But it's not, and again, another video we're building off of, it's not that sucked, it's what you do next. And if you don't turn it into something positive, something that motivates you, you're not gonna be able to think about it. So anyways, kicking a dead horse there. Being positive will set you up for success. Then, as promised, we talked about water, which I don't know anyone that's gonna argue with anybody about how important water is for survival. Big way up here, survival, can't live without it. To contingencies, to daily life, to the point being is it crosses the spectrum from all the way down here where you might want it for your coffee, or if you just drink water because you believe it's healthy, which it is, I'm not gonna say that, or all the way up here to where water keeps you alive and without it you're gonna die, or down here in the middle where you can't flush toilets, you can't wash yourself, you can't brush your teeth, you can't do your laundry, you can't keep yourself clean. Water's a necessity. If you haven't thought about it, you need to. And then we talked about a few things about it, how you can start building up on it. It's up to you. Each person is their own. I have no idea where you live. I have no idea what your storage space is. I have no idea what your finances are. All these things are you. What I'm concerned with is your thinking, and that you are thinking about it. And then finally, we touch base on what makes everybody happy. Come on now. You can't tell me you're not happy if you've got toilet paper. There we go. Yeah. Yes? So, toilet paper. Again, a year ago, it would have been funny for anybody to think about. And I just gave you a couple little, maybe what some people would consider outside their boxes. Or there's other people who's like, yeah, totally, I got those. I have those things, and they're cool. Some people might be like, I've never seen those things before in my life. I didn't know they... Okay. The point being is thinking about it. And especially with this contingency, with toilet paper, I don't know anyone who doesn't know that toilet paper was an issue. It was. If it was, it will be again. And you need to learn your lesson. If you didn't run out of toilet paper, learn your lesson from other people. If you did run out of toilet paper, learn your lesson from yourself. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you wanna make comments about this video or videos in the in the future. You can leave some comments down below. Please try to keep them constructive and positive. Once again, positive. Be positive in whatever you do. If you want to share it or subscribe, or I don't think I got the bell yet because I'm not famous enough or something. I don't know. But yeah, and if you get a chance, if you haven't watched the other videos, you may want to. Once again, they all build off of each other. It's just the way I do it because thinking, logic, there's a step process to it. With that being said, until next time, be happy, be positive, be prepared.